You wild. Yes. You are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as Ordered. And now, this is how it should be done. Because this style is identical to none. 2-5. Mr. Logical. Jersey.
Stand up.
San Antone. We are more than
building.
Wimby. Tonight, we gonna talk a little bit about the NCAA wanting to pay players now. We gonna take a trip down memory lane and tell you how the NFL is rigged or is not rigged, with some scenarios that would have happened if it was rigged. We gonna talk about healing time. Players that maybe should have sat out a little bit longer and they could have prolonged their careers or prolonged their legacies. And then, of course, we gonna get this thing started. Get it off my chest. And it starts right now.
The MVP running is down to 4 players, and these 4 players only. They should not be adding any more players. It's down to 4 players. That is it. That is it. I know MVP stands for most valuable player, but we also have literally realized that it means most outstanding player. So just because you're really valuable to your team does not mean you are the league MVP. Trent Williams has a great value to San Francisco, but he's not going to get an MVP vote. Von Miller was very valuable to the Denver championship run, even though Cam Newton, because he was outstanding, won the MVP award. We keep using this word valuable and we get hung up on it. We get hung up on the semantics, potato, tomato, neither, all that other stuff. The MVP award is the most outstanding, most electric player in the league. Even in baseball. Baseball's done a good job because they allow, if you hit 55 home runs and 135 RBI and your team went, 70 and 92, they're like, well, this dude had an outstanding, valuable play, most outstanding season. So 6 guys off the rip.
I don't know if baseball counts though, because you could not make the playoffs and get $700 million.
Because, hey, listen, they care about real value. They want to entertain the fans. The most is MEP, MOP. It's not just value. So I'm eliminating 6 people off the rip, and you can't argue with me to get them back on. First, Lamar Jackson, not MVP. Take him off. Jalen Hurts, not MVP. Take him off. Josh Allen, not MVP. Take him off the list. Patrick Mahomes, not MVP this year. Take him off the list. Tua Tagovailoa, not MVP. Take him off the list. Trevor Lawrence, not MVP. Take him off the list. That gives you 4 guys left. Dak, Brock, Tyreek, Christian McCaffrey. Those are the 4 dudes you have left as MVP. They're the only guys having seasons that are way better than their contemporaries. All right. You think I'm being a little outrageous? Think I'm being a little mean? Let's go to the passing stats for most of these quarterbacks. Tua, 24 touchdowns, 10 picks. Not a bad year, but that's the same as Jared Goff with 21 and 10. Records are pretty much the same. Josh Allen, 25 picks or 25 touchdowns, 14 picks. Also, handful of fumbles. I think he's up like 6 fumbles. He's cost his team games because of those interceptions. One game is interceptions that he lost to the Jets. Another game is fumbles. They're 7 and 6. You can't be the MVP if you're the reason.
You know what else?
If you're the sole reason for 6 of your team's losses.
You know what else? I don't know if this is in your note or not, but he's thrown a pick in 9 straight games.
Just giving the ball away like, candy on October 31st. Patrick Mahomes, 23 touchdowns, 11 picks. People want to give him credit for winning the Super Bowl with a subpar receiving group last year. This year is not the same. It's not his fault, but you can't give him a pass because when you need to make plays, he doesn't make plays. His team doesn't score points in the second half, 3-4 games in a row. How are you the most valuable player of the league if 3 weeks in a row your team can't get points in the second half of football games? You can't be MVP for multiple weeks in a row. They scored 17 points. They haven't scored over 24 points in weeks, except the one game against the Raiders, which me and 10 other people could probably get 16 points in the Raiders. All right. Trevor
Minnesota
Lawrence.
can't.
Trevor Lawrence, 17-10. He just got over 10 touchdowns in the ninth game. You can't be MVP when you play that many games. As much as people throw the ball, you throwing the ball 35 to 40 times a game, and you can't get me 1.5 touchdowns per game in your first 9 games. You should be at like 16 to 16 touchdowns in 9 games if you're throwing the ball that much with Christian Kirk, Ingram, Ridley, Zay Jones, Trev ATN who catches screen passes. I mean, like with Doug Peterson, a former quarterback who's a pass happy offense, you should have more than 9 touchdowns in that game. Yeah, he turned it on, but he threw 3 picks last week. You can't be an MVP running when you threw 3 picks and your team lost because of those 3 picks. You're out. Jalen Hurts, 19 touchdowns, 10 picks. They talk about his 12 rushing touchdowns. Well, Swift gets you down to the 1-yard line and you do the brotherly shove. I personally watch him still at least, 5 or 6 talking to you.
That
right?
game against Minnesota on Thursday night, he stole like 2 or 3.
Game against Minnesota, what other game did he stole? He stole a couple more. It was like one time when they called Swift down short of the line of gain, or the goal line. I'm like, okay, give him the ball back. Nope, brotherly shove. So yeah, he has a lot of touchdowns, but like I said, a lot of the work was done by somebody else. Who else? Who else did I eliminate? And Lamar, like I said, Lamar's numbers are just like I'm not even down that far on the list. Lamar's numbers, yes, he is doing a good job for Baltimore. And he can be the Super Bowl MVP if they make the Super Bowl and he has a great game. But as far as his season, 16 touchdowns, 6 picks. This is supposed to be the year he's supposed to cook. He's supposed to do all this stuff with the pass game, get rid of Greg Roman. But really, like, does Baltimore look like a team that could put up 28 points consistently? That's his job. That's his side of the ball. Defense is not supposed to score points, even though they do put him in position to score points. 16 touchdowns, 6 picks. Yes, he has some rushing touchdowns and a lot of yards, but that doesn't make him MVP. Because right above him, you got Matthew Stafford with 19 touchdowns and 9 picks, getting no MVP consideration. You got Jordan Love with 23 touchdowns, 11 picks. Who else had that number? Who else had that stat line? Oh, Patrick Mahomes, 23 touchdowns, 11 picks. Jordan Love beat Patrick Mahomes, but yet Patrick Mahomes getting MVP consideration, and his team looks pedestrian. But the guy who beat him has the same touchdown interception ratio. So, off the rip, Kirk Cousins hadn't played in weeks since he tore his ACL. I think he's missed like the last 5 or 6 games. Am I about right? He has 18 touchdowns, 5 picks. So you mean to tell me his first 7 or 8 games, 9 games, he has more passing touchdowns than Lamar and less interceptions?
And Trevor Lawrence.
And more touchdowns than Trevor Lawrence, who's played all 13 games. And he wasn't getting any MVP consideration when he was playing. So it's down to 4 guys. I don't know if the powers that be are gonna have the balls to say, yo, it's only these 4. It's Dakota, it's Brock, it's Christian, it's Tyreek. Whatever order you want to put them in, but those are your 4 guys. Those guys are making a difference on their teams. Those guys are making defensive coordinators sit up at night. People trying to figure out, how do we get Dak off his spot? How do we get Dak out of his groove? How do we double team Tyreek? Tyreek was looking over the wrong shoulder, but he was so wide open, he had enough time to look over the other shoulder to catch the ball. Every week. From Tua, who has a water pistol arm, but yet he's still so wide open that even Tua can get it out there to him because he's so wide open off the route. Like I was watching Marlon Humphrey's podcast, and he said Tyreek running a double move is easier because he normally runs by you so fast that when he breaks down to do the double move, you're still running full speed to catch up with him. He's like, but if he doesn't run a double move, he'll run right by you. Christian McCaffrey, just a game changer. Yeah, I know Brock and Christian, they might cancel out similar to way Steph and KD cancel each other out for the points for votes in the NBA. But he still needs to get more consideration, especially Tyreek, who's a wide receiver's never won it. Jerry Rice, what's the boy name? Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne,
Randy
all
Moss,
the great Randy Moss, all these great wide receivers that we had in the league that made these quarterbacks.
El Dorado.
Terrell Owens has this as the feather in his cap. This is why I was upset he was a 3rd ballot Hall of Famer. every single quarterback that he played with had their career year when they played a full season with T.O. on the roster. These are
Mhm,
facts. This is the
mhm.
difference between a good wide receiver, a great one, and a Hall of Fame caliber one. Tyreek is having a Hall of Fame caliber MVP year, and you got him behind a guy having an average year quarterback. Matter of fact, 6 guys having average years at quarterback. 4 guys are ahead of him. But the fact that these 6 guys are even in the same company is appalling. Get rid of it. Just give the quarterbacks their own award. So go get MQB, most
MVQ.
MVQB, MVQB, and then MOP, most outstanding player, most valuable quarterback, because that's what they're turning the MVP into. Just make it 2 separate awards, get somebody else to design something cute. But those 6 guys are eliminated from the top 10, in my opinion. Give me those last 4: Dakota, Tyreek, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy.
See, I hate awards, and you knew me as 2'5" because of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. I was probably 2'5"
Probably one of the greatest conversations I've ever had.
because of awards. So like back in the day, 2010, I was the one that wanted Ndamukong Suh to win the Heisman Trophy. Because of his impact on games. Looking at this season, I'm gonna throw a name out there that you ain't say.
Okay.
But he can't win the MVP because people will say he doesn't have the stats. So I would like to vote for Myles Garrett. 13 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. They're down to Joe Flacco. They had a DTR. They had PJ Walker.
And they beat San Francisco with PJ Walker.
Yeah, they started 4 or 5 different quarterbacks this year. So, they're the number 1 defense in the league. So that's the type of stuff that I value. But giving it to the actual candidates, I hate to say it. I don't want to say it. I was big on Dakota.
Cool. It's
Pause.
crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy that Dak is finally getting, and it's like he should be getting unfiltered support for the MVP, but it's because he plays in the same for the team that's owned by Jerry Jones. And the fans, I know the fans make it tough to like Dallas or anything about Dallas.
Right.
They were like I said, whatever they finished their year this year, they were 24-10 the last 2 years.
Here's one for you. So you made the comment that Trevor Lawrence had 9 touchdowns in 9 games. In his last 8 games, Dak has 23 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So, but last night, so all season long, we've been talking, and I've been I felt it, but I know he can't win. But I was like, Tyreek Hill, especially if he ends up breaking.
He should be in a position to win because
college.
Devontae Smith won the Heisman when McCorkle was having a great year throwing it to everybody, but they recognize it's like this guy is the reason that everybody else is open.
Larry Fitzgerald got Heisman, and I thought he should have won it.
Calvin Johnson got a Heisman vote.
Marvin Harrison just finished 4th the other day.
So it's like you have to recognize that when Tyreek does that little when they're in that little bunch formation, the left or the right, and he just runs sideways to the sideline, that shouldn't impact you defensively when your defense is going this way. Right. But this guy's running out like this, and your whole defense on that side of the field does either this, they adjust, someone does this, like something happens to where you have to adjust to that, and he just throws then throws it to Achane or Waddle or somebody on the other side, or Mostert or just hands the ball off. Nothing happens with Tyreek, and 3 defenders and a defensive coordinator are screaming their heads off to adjust what's going on, and he literally doesn't touch the ball. That's what an MVP
I don't want to do the thing. I don't want to do the thing where we reduce everything down to one game or where we reduce everything down to the most current game. But last night was a perfect example. Tyreek Hill got hurt in the second quarter, hurt his ankle, or first quarter actually, hurt his ankle, came out the game. Miami did not score an offensive touchdown until the fourth quarter when he was back in the game as a decoy. So, their only touchdown last night up until that point was a pick six of a screen pass. And this is the top offense in the league. So he's obviously, as they say, the straw that stirs that drink,
I
So
like that one. I like that one.
so for me, Tyreek Hill is the MVP. At one point, I had Jared Goff as the MVP early in the season, but now he's reared his ugly head, if you will, so to speak.
Yeah,
Pause.
I had
But
him because I felt as if like I said when I run down these numbers, well, these are my wide receiver numbers, but when you run down the numbers, they want it's like the pundits, the talking heads want you to ignore that I'm using raw numbers to make my point. I being the talking head pundit who is advocating for Tua, advocating for Mahomes, advocating for Josh Allen, and they'll use the raw numbers. Lamar. And I'm like, okay, well, what about the fact that, Matthew Stafford's numbers are just as good as Lamar's? Oh, no, 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 it's not the same. I'm like, you're using the raw numbers. If you take away the raw number element of it, if the numbers are substantially better, like the year that Lamar won MVP, I think he led the league. He was a rushing threat and he led the league in passing touchdowns, like somewhere in the mid 30s, 35 to 36, something like that. In a year where mostly quarterbacks get around 40 recently, he led the league as quote unquote a running quarterback in touchdown passes. So that is the outstanding element of the V that people are trying to incorporate because it's not really value, it's more outstanding.
The thing
With
is,
Myles Garrett, the thing with Myles Garrett, he has an opportunity to definitively win Defensive Player of the Year.
mhm,
That can't be taken from him because there is an award specifically for his side of the ball.
right,
Whereas
right.
the MVP, it should be for any position. We just know it's been kind of steered towards the signal
A
caller.
quarterback, right.
So
So
of the 22 positions or the
Well,
22
so
guys
so
that are
this
on the
is why
field,
MVP is stupid. This is why MVP is stupid because going off of what you were saying about how Stafford's numbers are similar to Lamar's, and
correct.
I think he missed a game as
Missed a
well.
couple of games,
Yeah,
and he's older. He doesn't run. He doesn't have the same threat. His team isn't as good. He doesn't have
right.
the same.
And then you mentioned
His
Jordan
team was
Love
supposed
as
to go
well.
3-14 according to me, 4-13
Right,
according to you, I
right,
believe, or 5 and
right.
12. You had him
Something
5 and
like that.
12.
Something
I
like
had
that.
him
Yeah.
4-13. They're in the
Well,
playoff run.
but you even but even with Jordan Love, you know, better numbers than Lamar, but their teams are both 6-7. Whereas Lamar's team is 10-3. So, take away
Are
the
they 10 and,
record.
are you 10-3 because he threw 16 touchdowns, or are you 10-3 because people can't throw on you
Well,
defensively?
I know that this past week, they're 1-0 because Tylan Wallace ran a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown in overtime. So take that with that as you will.
Yeah, it's
But
a team game, and I get, like I said, I get that there is a value to having a top play quarterback. I think people kind of confuse having because we've seen a game where trying to think of like okay, I'll use the Chicago Chiefs game early this year. The Chiefs, I don't think they punted with Patrick Mahomes in their quarterback. I think by the time Blaine Gabbert got in the game, the score might have been, I would say
it was
41
like
to
40
0.
to 1-10 or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
it was something ridiculous. Blaine Gabbert gets in the game. I think it was like the last like probably like either the whole fourth quarter or probably late in the third when he got in. He ended up throwing a pick. Patrick Mahomes is throwing just bombs all game and just killing Chicago. So there is a difference between your backup guy. There is a drop off. There's a
Mhm.
drop off between having a top flight
Hey,
quarterback and
you
your
can say
backup.
what you want, but I know that Lamar Jackson has a Pro Bowler behind him.
Tyler Huntley, out of the University of Utah. Let's go
But
you.
get it off my chest. See that right there? We'll talk about them one more time. So, we all heard about the screwing heard around the world. Florida State left out of the playoffs. I came on Sports Reports' order with Mr. Logical, and I
True.
said what the College Football Committee did was effectively kill the ACC. Now, we're a week later, and what did I see on Friday? I saw an article, people saying that Florida State is having a board meeting on January 31st. And even Blue Blood Bias on Twitter, you know what I'm saying? He got the blue check. You know what I'm saying? Blue Blood Bias on Twitter came through and said that people think that Florida State within the next month is going to be in the Big Ten. So just when we thought we were done with realignment, here we are all over again. So this is the thing. Hopefully, Florida State has done their due diligence, which I'm sure they have if they're going to try to make this move, because we all know that the grant of rights in the ACC don't run out until 2036. So what that means is that if Florida State goes to another conference and that isn't worked out, they get no money for any of their home games until 2036. So if they join the Big Ten can't benefit from the FSU home game revenue until 2036, unless they got the lawyers working this out. Now, we were told that it takes a certain amount of schools. If we could get 6 or 7 schools to leave the ACC, then that might go out the window. But the early estimates was at the beginning of this season, if Florida State would have left next year to go to the Big Ten, it would have been something along the lines of $300 million when you factor in the grant of rights along with the exit fee that they were going to owe the ACC. So what does that mean? That means, what's Clemson up to? You know, partners in crime. What's North Carolina up to? Basketball Central. And, you know, don't forget about Duke. You know, what's these Virginia schools plotting? So if FSU takes that leap, then the ACC will effectively die. On top of that, what does that do to Notre Dame, whose basketball is in the ACC, and contractually they play 5 ACC games a year? That's cool when you're playing Clemson, when you're playing Florida State, maybe even if you're playing Louisville. If you're playing, say, SMU and Georgia Tech and UVA, don't quite hit the same.
No.
So if Florida State decides to take this leap, the domino is going to start all over again. So with that being said, you know, former Governor Clark, you know, Charlie Clark, the new president of the NCAA, you know, I got to double check myself, you know, because I keep messing up his name. I want to make sure I got that right. But anyway, you know, the NCAA has now talking about proposing a new football subdivision. In this subdivision, there comes rules and guidelines that volunteer schools, you have to volunteer to be a part of this, is that they are going to be Charlie Baker. I'm sorry. There you go. Charlie Baker, former governor of Massachusetts. But anyway, he was talking about this new subdivision. Right now, it's just an idea. It's not in stone, just an idea. It's being talked about, but I got some thoughts on why it's being talked about. So under this subdivision, the initial thoughts are that each school that's a part of the subdivision has to pay they have to put at least $30,000 in a trust fund for half of their athletes. So not half the football team, half the athletes in the school. Then, of course, you get into Title IX and all that kind of stuff, too. You know, NIL.
So $30,000 for the swim team, 150 meter swimmer.
Well, at least half of the athletes. At least half.
At least half.
You know? Yeah. So NIL would get removed from the collectives and placed into the hands of the school.
I'm out.
Now, before I let Mr. Logical go, let me tell you why I think this is happening. So all over the last 10 to 15 years, we've been talking about the Big Ten and the SEC splitting off, doing their own thing, AFC, NFC style. which would toss the NCAA in the bushes. But the NCAA has something very valuable that they don't want to let go of. You might have heard of it. It's called March Madness. You know, March Madness keeps the NCAA afloat. It keeps the NCAA relevant. So now if you give these schools the autonomy to go make their own decisions, decide how many scholarships they want to give out, decide what the playoff looks like. Can a school that's not in the subdivision get in the playoff? Does what we know as FBS, and then you take the SEC and whoever to this new subdivision, does a school like Vanderbilt become the new FCS? And they become the cupcake game that you play before your rival now. But here's some numbers for you real quick. So, Ohio State, for example, if they would have played under this rule where they have to pay half the athletes $30,000, it would cost them $15 million per year. And last year, Ohio State made, as a total athletic department, $250 million. And that's from Shahan Jayaraja. I hope I'm saying your name right, from CBS Sports. Now, with that being said, back in November, this went under the radar. There was Grant House, a swimmer from Arizona State, took the NCAA to court over NIL damages because the collectives are paying these kids, but they ain't getting none of the TV money or any of that. Right? So this judge, Claudia Wilkin, decided that these athletes should be back paid through 2016.
From the time you signed the TV deal.
So I think the NCAA, for one, is just trying to stay alive. They don't care about these kids. They're going to end up settling out of court, I'm sure, in this case. But what they're trying to do is not have the SEC, Big Ten, and whoever else leave them as a thing of the past.
Yeah. So, as like I said, me and Mr. Mr. 25 here, we come with these conversations. We can't take credit for this particular one. He sent it to me from a podcast called Until Saturday. They were talking about the proposed subdivision.
Nicole R. back, Power Hour.
So I'm kind of boring with my arguments. They're articulate. They're real thought out. I believe in them. I'll argue the merits of them. But ultimately, I keep it very simple. When something looks fishy or someone's trying to make a drastic change, follow the money. People move for money. People sell their homes for money. Family relationships fall apart. A lot of time it's money. And you can say, oh, it's unexpected, uncommunicated expectations. Yeah, that's cool. A lot of that still involves money. What was your expectations with this money? And I think the NCAA is one of those organizations that will do whatever when it comes to money. I don't like the professional aspect of like these avenues they're trying to create for college sports, because if we look at our own professional sports examples, it's not a lot of support for the player in these professional organizations. If you had an opportunity, watch Broke, the 30 for 30 special Broke, where NFL players talk about playing games, and like you play for the Cowboys, so you get your 8 or 9 home games because now with 17 games, there's no state tax in Texas. But if you play a game in Chicago, if you play a game in New Jersey,
the NBA in Toronto, they get taxed by a whole different country.
So if you play the Jets and the Giants one year, Jersey's gonna get that tax. If you play a game in New York, New Jersey, so you play
San
Buffalo,
Francisco.
You play Buffalo. Say you got a year where you play Buffalo, the Jets, the Giants, the 49ers, and the Rams and the Chargers. Just for whatever reason, that's how your schedule worked out. You're getting taxed so heavy. Now I'm a college kid, but I'm signing a professional contract with my college. And I'm Kid plays in Texas. Now I'm playing the game against USC because they're in they're in the SEC, but we got that matchup now. Or you got these kids from Louisiana playing games against UCLA. So it's just like the money aspect of the professional sports has been such a detriment that I think turning college sports into professional is just a bad idea. They can simply make it more affordable for the student athlete to go to school and then give them a reasonable stipend for their efforts. Yes, I get that you would want a full percentage and argue that. To do that, they're going to come back with this other stuff. You're a student athlete. If your sport generates money for the school, then you go to school for free. If you get injured and you can't play for the team, you get to finish out at the school unless you want to transfer. Instead of making everything about money, make it about, okay, what can I do for you going forward? Because we're going to pay you. We're going to make sure you get your scholarship squared away. You're going to get an opportunity to do your NIL. Keep the schools out of it, because once it's being regulated by this, like if I'm arguing and advocating for myself to get my Instagram deal, or if I'm advocating for myself to get this car dealership deal or the local pizzeria, then that's a deal between me and a local pizzeria. NCAA, you don't need any part of that money. You're already getting the $1 billion TV deal. Stay out of here. Get the players straight. Get the swimmers straight. Get the soccer players squared away with the academics. That's your involvement in their life, to provide them academics.
Well, this is the
Let
problem.
them work their own NIL deals, because if the NIL deals go through the school, now, like if you think about gymnastics, I haven't seen gymnastics on TV hardly ever. Olivia Dunn at LSU is probably one of the top NIL earners in America. The Cavender twins, they played in Miami. I think they played in Fresno State. They are up there at the top. Bronny James, before he even got to USC. Now, if you took all of that away and now your NIL deal is worked through the school and it's worked based on how well, like they'll give you some, like, oh, how many people watch gymnastics? They're like, I don't care. I'm pretty and I can go to Instagram
You're
and
gonna
I
get
can
the
make money off.
30,000.
You're going to get 30,000. Like, I'm getting 7 million. It ain't for everybody to get 7 million. Life ain't fair.
Mhm.
Wear a helmet. So if I can get out here because I'm handsome, I'm cute, and I'm pretty, I can flip, or I shoot jump shots, or I can swim, or I just have a great personality, and Barstool wants to pay me because I do a weekly podcast, and I'm also a college basketball player, male or female, then that's the money I get. But if you let it go through the school's going to regulate to the point where they are going to get their cut off the top, and they're going to give crumbs to the players like they were doing before when they were getting paid under the table. They knew these dudes were getting paid under the table. They know these kids, 19 years old, shouldn't be driving new Escalades to practice.
Right. So here's some more numbers. So I gave you the Ohio State side of it, where it would be 15 million per year for them to follow this plan. But a lot of the athletic, this is from the same CBS article, a lot of the athletic departments around the country have a little bit over 400 student athletes or scholarship athletes across at least 20 sports, vary by school, but a lot of these schools would pay something along the lines of 6 million. So goodbye Akron, goodbye Kent State, goodbye some of these AAC and Mountain West schools, Wyoming or somebody like that. But where this judge shook the foundation of the NCAA, not only did she say that the back pay should go back to 2016, this affects 6,000 college football players and more than 7,000 college basketball players. So we haven't even got to the Title IX part of it yet. And I don't know how all that's going to work because, like outside of women's college basketball, I'm not sure what other women's sports, I guess, I don't know if I want to say pushes the needle or drives the needle, but I don't know what other women's sports would have that argument that a lot of the men's sports have. So the NCAA is just trying to save themselves and exist when we look back at it. Because now with the
I think
subdivision,
they're just trying to take. I think they're just trying to take control because
yeah, that's what it is. They don't want to
they
lose
don't.
control.
They don't. That's the thing. I don't think they've lost control. I don't think the NIL deals are going to be that grand for everybody because everybody's not a brand. Shador Sanders is a brand because his dad is Deion Sanders. If Shador Sanders was a coach of a kid of a coach that's still, coach in Texas, and he played the way he played at Colorado this year, I don't think he rolls into next year with $6 to $8 million or $10 million in NIL deals. He has that because he's connected to Deion. I'm not knocking his talent.
Well, you got to
So
remember, you got to remember though, the NCAA they're a bully when it comes to these other sports, but college football has the ability to stand without the NCAA. Like I don't know what even men's college, I don't know what college basketball looks like if there's no NCAA, but college football, SEC, ACC, whoever, they can just walk away from the NCAA.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think they will position themselves to just be expendable.
Well, no, it's not
It
that.
just doesn't.
But I'm saying like so
I
right
don't think
now
that.
the NCAA can come down and suspend Jim Harbaugh, for example.
Correct.
And when that whole situation was going on, a lot of the talk was, well, what if Harbaugh just says no? Like, what if the NCAA says you're suspended for 3 games, and then Harbaugh just says no? Like, what can the NCAA really do about it? So that's where you get into that, where football probably has enough money that they've outgrown the NCAA now. So like in the subdivision, like I said, they're going to decide if this happens. They're going to decide how many scholarships. Like right now, the NCAA tells them 85 is your scholarship limit. But if they break off and do the subdivision thing, even though it's still under the NCAA, the schools will decide how many scholarships. The schools will decide who makes the playoff. And, like I said, as far as March Madness goes, what if these schools decided, well, hey, these schools aren't playing in the subdivision. You're not in the NCAA tournament either. No more St. Peter's over Kentucky. No more, T-neck. No more T-neck over Purdue.
Fairly Dickinson. I mean, I just, without being in the room with these conversations and understand fully the leverage that the NCAA has, because if you factor in they've been in charge of the money for as long as they have, it just seems unlikely that some of this new money that's coming through
Well, you got to
will
remember
garner enough leverage.
Well, you got to
For
remember
the
these conferences are getting money from TV. They're not getting money from the NCAA, and the
Yeah,
NCAA
but
doesn't control that money.
the
The NCAA doesn't
NCAA
control
is a
that money.
nonprofit organization that's been getting money tax exempt forever since its inception. So they're like Rockefeller money. They don't like this Alabama money. This you can't even take the NCAA to court. They probably own some of the stadiums that these teams play at.
Well, all I know
I
is the Big
guarantee they
Ten.
have more financial leverage, and I think they'll be able to use more of that.
But you gotta remember though, the NCAA doesn't sponsor the college football playoff. They sponsor March Madness, obviously, but they don't have control over the college football playoff. The Big Ten just signed this $7 billion TV deal through 2031. The NCAA doesn't touch any of that.
As far as we would think, but I find that hard to believe that the National Collegiate Athletic Association doesn't have their hand in the TV money of these different conferences. I just don't like. I don't think they would set themselves up that way to not get any of that money, because it would be irresponsible to
Well, I
not
don't know if
get a piece of that
they
money.
would have. I don't know if they have a choice. You know what I mean? Like that's between
That's the thing.
ESPN
But
and the Big Ten.
they've had the financial
Or
edge.
CBS.
It's like Dak making a deal to wear his Cowboys uniform in the Campbell's Chunky Soup commercials, and Jerry Jones doesn't get a cut. He's like, yo, that's my uniform. I'm getting a cut of this. I'm getting a cut of everything, every can that gets sold. I'm getting a cut of that. So I'm NCAA. You're under the NCAA umbrella. You signed this deal. I'm getting a cut of that. Because
And
like
if that is
if
true,
like
and if that is
if we signed a bar stool and we've got a deal with like I'm drinking Crown Royal right now. We signed a bar stool next year. Put it knock on wood. Let's make it happen. We signed a bar stool.
Brandon Walker, what up? Casey
And then so,
Smith, hey.
so then they see me, somebody sees me drinking a Crown Royal, and then they call us directly. Barstool is going to get a cut of this Crown Royal deal that we get next year
Mm-hmm.
because they are the umbrella that we're under. And I understand. I think what it is that I believe the transfer portal. I think the players having power is maybe putting some fear in the people who are used to being like autonomous with their control.
You don't want these players to be employees.
And then you better do something about their education and make them and treat them like student athletes
Speaking of
and
the
really lock
transfer
in.
portal, real quick, since you brought it up, Nebraska, what do you got going on? Like,
Yo,
everybody's talking about Colorado because, Coach Prime out here getting the offensive lineman. He's doing it. Nebraska is allegedly about to get Kyle McCord and Dylan Raiola from Georgia.
but
So
Dylan Raiola is from Nebraska.
I know.
That's an easy recruit. All you gotta do is send him a girlfriend. You know how many Air Force recruiters I knew? I had Air Force recruiters that told me, he was like, listen, man, I stopped recruiting girls that didn't come back to my office multiple times because he was like, I got burned because boyfriends wouldn't want their girlfriends to leave.
Mm-hmm.
He another friend of mine, he's like, I'd have guys that would get up to the week of and decide they didn't want to go because they didn't want to leave their girl behind because they didn't trust their boys around this girl. So you can get people, you can influence people, a lot of different ways. I know Louisville did it to a very nefarious level back in the
Mm-hmm.
day with Rick Pitino.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
Yep.
some of some people get homesick. We did the Air Force. We got over 40 years combined. I know a lot of people I know a guy right now who probably has the opportunity to go PCS and retrain, reenlist, retrain, go see the rest of the world, but he's from Jersey. And he's like, man, I go to my mom's house every weekend. Like I eat
Mm-hmm.
dinner at my mom's house every weekend, Saturday or Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
She's like an hour or so from here. And he was like, I like the job I do here. And I also get to see my mom every week. So if you got a guy because back in the day, the high school recruits, man, you weren't getting a dude from Florida to even go to Oklahoma, really. You might get a guy from Texas to go to Oklahoma. You might get a guy from Oklahoma to go to Texas. But for the most part, Bobby Bowden was recruiting the Panhandle. I got everybody here. Guys down in
Miami
Miami,
and
I'm
Dade County.
I'm recruiting these 17 neighborhoods right here. Like I got
Mm-hmm.
these guys are staying. Same thing in Virginia. Like I remember when I was in high school, Michael Vick, he was a year ahead of
Tidewater.
me. They were like, "Yo, go to Virginia Tech or UVA to play sports." Guys didn't go to Florida. Percy Harvin's probably one of the first guys I really remember that was like a top athlete that didn't go to Virginia Tech out of Virginia. He went to Florida. But as the
But
TV and everything started to expand, so like I think it's some guys like, you know what? I want to be at home. I don't know what
but
Matt Rule. I don't know what they have going on in Nebraska. I think I might have driven through there once. I can't remember. I know I
you
drove
ain't
through
see
Kansas.
nothing.
In Kansas, yeah, it
You
was
ain't
like
see
flat.
nothing unless you went near Omaha, but which the university isn't even near Omaha. But yeah, but the portal's live right now. Dylan Gabriel to Oregon. We got Tyler Van Dyke from Miami now going to Wisconsin.
Duke Riley went to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. Riley Leonard. Yep, he went to
Or
Notre
Riley
Dame
Leonard. Why did I say Duke Riley? Oh,
because he went
I
to
was
Duke.
thinking. I was thinking.
That's a hell of a
form-
badass name, though. Duke Riley. That's like
former linebacker got drafted out of LSU by the Falcons. Played for Miami. He plays for Miami now. And I saw him in the game last night. So
yeah.
I was
Then
thinking that. Yeah. So
you
yeah.
got Kentucky picking up Vandegrift from Georgia, who was supposed to have next, but then Carson Beck came through and crushed the buildings. And Kentucky also grabbed Chip. I'm not even going to try to say his last name, Graham from Ohio State.
I'm like I don't as a father of an up and coming high school athlete, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna have these college level aspirations. I'm trying to get this game going on my iPad, but the stream is not popping right now.
Warriors kicking ass, so
I don't know, like what do I tell him? Like, hey man, just wait it out, or
as far as
like if he gets there, because right now he's a freshman in high school, so he has time. But it seems by the time he gets to college and that recruiting aspect of it, it's going to be chaos. Like with the grandmother, what's the guy named Dante
Moore
out of UCLA? Do you
he
need to
gone.
go somewhere and play for 3 years, or do you really? Joe Burrow had 2 years. 1 year was good, 1 year was hot, and he went number one. Like, do you really need, like, what's the guy name with the rice?
JT Daniels.
JT Daniels. This is like his fifth school.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, USC,
West
Virginia, Rice, and he's still not an NFL prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Not on anybody's radar.
Well, that's why I asked you last week, if you're a quarterback like, say, Dylan Gabriel, like, do you follow? I mean, he went to Oregon, but do you follow Jeff Lebby to Mississippi State, your offensive coordinator? You shined in that system, or do you go somewhere else and show, like, I'm not a system dude, like I can be flexible or versatile?
I think you have to, if you're honest with yourself, and you're
that's
like,
the problem.
You have to have a good board of directors around you. Somebody tells you, like, listen, Dylan Gabriel was 5'11", right? Pretty sure he's a good quarterback. He was able to beat Texas, number 3 team in the country. There's, like, I had a 14-year-old sleeping in a hallway that's over 6 foot already. He's 14. He's not even like a prime, like, he wants to play quarterback, but there's so many guys that are going to just fit the prototype. In the NFL, you're watching guys like Kyler Murray, Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield, Bailey Zappi. You watching all these small guys. The NFL's like, man, this is not worth it. I'm going back to my 6'2.5", 6'3", mobile. I want the NFL is going to want more guys that move more like Aaron Rodgers and less like Kyler Murray.
Yeah. Hey, apparently Aaron Rodgers is cleared Christmas Eve to resume contact, I guess.
I don't know why you would. Like, we'll get into that in our healing conversation.
Yeah.
But so with the transfer portal is like, you're gonna be replaced. I think someone has to tell you when you're young, like, yo, dog, you're replaceable. Every year, depends on what school you go to, because Alvin Kamara was in the same running back room like Mark Ingram, DJ Yeldon, Eddie Lacy, what's the boy name? Trent Richardson. Alvin Kamara. Like, when you went to your visit and you looked and saw, why'd you commit to Alabama? Unless you plan on, like, listen, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna work out for a year. I'm good riding the bench.
You got to be real with yourself and be like, I'm willing to play linebacker.
I'm willing to play linebacker, corner, safety, or just work out and just get in the best shape of my life and get screamed at by Nick Saban and go through all the drills for this year and not play any football. Because you're a 5th string running back in any program, UCF, USF, USC, like, the likelihood of you getting real mama I made it kind of playing time is unlikely. Even if a couple of guys go down, the team is probably more likely to get a corner that came to school 2 years before you as a running back and give him the ball. I see that happen at my son's high school. It's like they had this corner. They were like, you know what? We need some speed at the running back position, and he's a senior. So we'll have him play corner and running back while this other guy heals. It's like, you have 2 freshman running backs. Just play them. Nah, I'm not doing that. So I just feel like I don't know what to tell you as far as, like, hey, Dad, I want to transfer. It's like, what are your guarantees? Like, is anything written? Like, did this coach say, hey, come here, you're going to be my day 1 starter? Or did he say, hey, come here, you can compete because you're better off staying where you are and
probably
compete?
What he said. Yep.
So,
and and then, of course, keeping the college football going. We got Manny Diaz, the new head coach at Duke, replacing Mike Elko, famously of Miami Hurricane head coaching fame, even though Florida State's his alma mater, but that's a whole nother story. Father was the mayor of Miami at one point. He's last seen up in Happy Valley, defensive coordinator for Penn State. He's coming over to Duke now. So, I like it. We'll see. I think he's going to win a lot of games there in his first 2 years, and somebody else is going to come scoop him up. Then, of course, Tulane lost Willie Fritz to Houston, as we talked about last week. But now Tulane has a new head coach, John Summerall from Troy, who I thought was going to get the Duke job. So,
this is how Mike brains work. Like, this is not something we discussed. He just was like, boom, I got all this.
Well, we talked about college football. Might as well just say it.
College football names, positions. Like, it's still, like, honestly, it's still amazing. I sit back and I'm a fan for these segments when you go on around. I'm like,
but yeah, that's what
I hear
the
names and I hear the positions and I hear we had conversations about like, oh, these guys moving here, this is available. I just think that in this modern, gratification age of the dings and the Twitter alerts and everything else, I think that people just feel like I got to be out there, I got to get it quick. Like, there's a grind, and if you look at it, all these dudes transferring, they're not going anywhere. Right. Most of these guys aren't going to the league. Like Jaden Daniels, he has probably like the greatest you should transfer videos when his team was like, oh, he suck anyway. And then he goes to another school and wins the Heisman Trophy. And he was probably one of the most outstanding players in college football. The game he threw for over 300 yards and ran for over 250 yards, they should have stopped doing Heisman votes right then. Like, that was it. That was a game. Same thing with Reggie Bush against Fresno State when he stopped on the left sideline, stutter stepped, and then cut back across the field and scored a touchdown. I thought Vince Young was the Heisman, but that was the moment. There was like, this dude is the Heisman Trophy winner. Adrian Peterson should have won a Heisman, but he was a freshman. The freshman didn't win it back then, but it was clearly he was the best player in college football. But yeah, so
I did remember
the transfer portal could work. It could work if you pick the wrong school at first. Like I said, we live in Jersey. If he says, you know what, I want to go to Penn State. It's not that far. I want to go to Penn State. And my son goes to Penn State and he goes there for a year and he doesn't like it. He's like, I'm gonna come back to Rutgers, and Shiano's still there, and they let him throw the ball over the place.
Yeah, once he get a taste of James Franklin not throwing the ball deep, he gonna want to get out of there.
Yeah, so it's like, whatever you're getting told, it just, all I'm saying is like, just be prepared for the next move. Like, just prepare yourself for the next move so you're not caught off guard. Phoenix is making a game of it, at least as far as my stream.
Yeah, this is the second or third game Bradley Beal has played, and Kevin Durant is out with an ankle injury. So,
I know I said 37-45, and I might have been, a little bit hyperbolic, but I do not think they are viable threats.
Well, I think that's part of the problem, is that they don't have any time together. We're already, 20 games into the season, and they haven't even played
12-9 or something.
They haven't played a game, all three at the same time yet. So we still don't even really know, how it looks, and yes, right now the Suns are 12-10.
12-10. If they get 30 games together, theoretically I could see a 20-10.
Well, that's what happened last year, right? Like, Durant came over, everybody was like, oh, they're like 8-0 when they play together, and then they ran into Denver. That's just how it goes.
In warm-ups, I was like, this is just not meant to be.
But dude, the Spurs, losers of 17 in a row.
Yo, I don't know. I remember hearing the buzz with Wemby, and I wasn't buying it. It was the same way I wasn't buying it with Chet Holmgren, Bol, Kristaps Porzingis. Is like, at some point, man, you gotta bump into somebody else. You can't just be tall. I think that's people are enamored with tall. Like, I think we have at this point we have 46 presidents. I believe 44 of them have been over 6 feet tall. We're just enamored with tall. If you are on social media at all, you see these videos of women saying, I want a man that's 6 feet tall, at least 6 feet tall, makes $100,000 and works out, doesn't have kids. Well, that's like 0.25% of the population between the ages of 25 and 40. So good luck.
Right.
But everyone's just enamored with tall. And I probably brought this up before. This movie called Comet, Justin Long's character was talking to a guy in line. And Justin Long's character was kind of like I won't say he was on the spectrum, but he's one of those guys who just kind of said what was on his mind. And the guy was talking, and he's like, I just kind of assume you don't have a lot of personality because you're tall and handsome, and you probably have never had to develop a personality throughout your entire life because everyone's tall and handsome. And I think sometimes these NBA players, they come out and everyone tells them how great they're going to be. I'm like, yo, you weigh the same as like Texas high school linebackers. You need to be stronger than this because AD is 6'10 and a half, 6'11, like 270. Jokic is like 270, 280. Nurkic is 7 foot 280. Embiid 7 foot 2. Like, you can't be 7'5" out here trying to guard Bradley Beal in the wing. Like, no. You need to be down here guarding these other guys.
Well, that's why I like, Bomani Jones always has the conversation of like, are you big man or tall man? Like two different things,
Yeah. Why do you do the tall man?
Yeah. But NFL, we talk about sports all the time. A couple of years ago, was it Arian Foster that came out talking about the NFL and the script? And everybody started going nuts, thinking that the league was rigged. And we were just sitting around just spitballing, and we were just like, yo, the league would look a whole lot different if it was really scripted.
It's just, I understand when I hear, because I talk about the NBA and as well as the NFL, we talked about it, the matchups. Who would you rather see? Would you want to see a San Antonio Milwaukee NBA final or an LA Miami NBA final?
Well, see, I think basketball is different though.
Same thing with the NFL. The NFL is like, would you rather see right now the playoff run realistically includes Gardner Minshew and the Indianapolis Colts, and it includes
the Texans,
and then you got Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and even Desmond Ritter,
and even the Saints.
And the Saints. So your Super Bowl, just because it just happens to play out this way, is Gardner Minshew and Indianapolis Colts versus Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Vegas.
That would be hilarious.
You could probably sell tickets at the hotels in Vegas and fill the stadium. I think Allegiant Stadium is like it's probably like 70, 80,000 seats.
But see, I think the NBA is different though, because the Super Bowl itself is a spectacle. You got the whole week, the radio row, all that kind of stuff, celebrities everywhere. Whereas with the finals, like whoever plays in the Super Bowl, we're gonna watch. If it's Jacksonville and Carolina, we're gonna watch it.
It's one day, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in the NBA, I've always told you, I don't think that the NBA is rigged. But
they don't like San Antonio, Milwaukee NBA.
Yes, if they have a chance, like I used to have this conversation all the time. LeBron's first go round in Cleveland. I would tell people if the Eastern Conference Finals was Cleveland against Milwaukee back then, before Giannis, Milwaukee had to be 10 points better every night, because if the game was in reason, there was going to be some calls.
Ticky-tack fouls.
Yeah, there was going to be some ticky-tack calls.
Some Donahue going on.
And then we saw this play out because Orlando couldn't miss a shot. Like, I'm sure if they could have done something.
Michael Petras was killing them.
Yeah, Hito
was killing them. What's the boy name? He ended up playing for Miami. Rashard Lewis was killing them.
Yep.
They were killing.
There was nothing Cleveland could do about it. So
Dwight Howard was killing them. They had the Nike commercials with Kobe and the puppet.
Yeah.
But if the NFL being rigged, It's
Yeah.
just it's just such a
Like
it's too many things going on. Even even with the penalties,
and the
like
injury risk is too high.
injury risk is too high, and just a basic. If one person messes up on one play, it's a touchdown. Either
Or it's
way,
not a touchdown, Kadarius Toney.
it's not a touchdown. Kadarius Toney. It's not a touchdown. MVS. It's not a touchdown because you overthrow a Jimmy Garoppolo. So for the NFL to be rigged, just the narrative that is rigged, it's hilarious. But the thing I love most about it, like the reason we have this topic, I was talking to a guy in my office today. Shout out to B Mac if he's listening. I told everybody to watch the podcast. I'm like, shout out to B Mac, KC-46 pilot, smart guy, graduated from a university, Virginia Military Institute, smart guy. But like he had like a pseudo intellectual argument about the validity of it if it was rigged or not. And my argument it goes into is like who benefits from it being rigged? Because no matter what, I'm gonna watch. Because we used last night's game as a prime example. I would not. So last night the games were Green Bay versus the Giants. I know a family that went to their Giants fans. They went to the game last night because they like the root for Tommy DeVito. He's a kid from around. He's like from the story. It's very Jeremy Lin-esque kind of
He's
story. He
like
grew up
Rudy.
10 minutes. Yeah, he grew up like 10 minutes from the stadium. Uh, Still lives at home with his mom. They're winning games. Keep in mind, this is a team that just watched their quarterback get paid $40 million in all season after having one good season and then being out for the season with like between neck and ACL injuries. He might not be ready to come back. They've had a bad year. They barely want to pay their running back. So they've had a terrible run of it up until about a month ago. So as a
They've
Giants
won 3
fan,
in a row now.
yeah, as a Giant fan, you've had a terrible offseason as a Giant fan from March through October. Like it's been awful. And then you get this spark. Because even DeVito, when he came in for Tyrod Taylor, he didn't throw the ball the game against the Jets. In the rain, they just kept running the ball and ended up losing that game. So that didn't even help the spark. And then they turn it around, you got the spark.
They played Washington.
So then you have Miami versus Tennessee. That wasn't supposed to be the game that it was. But that's not going to stop me from watching Monday Night Football next week because whoever it is next week, we haven't looked
Are
that far
you going to
ahead.
watch Thursday Night Football tomorrow? I mean, in 2 days, are you going to watch that?
What we got?
We got Raiders versus Chargers, and Justin Herbert's out for the season.
Yeah,
I'm gonna still watch it. I'm gonna watch Eastern Stick. I'm gonna watch,
and we're all gonna watch it. And I have a friend who lives in Vegas, and she's gonna post pictures from the box that her boss gets because he knows people in the Raiders organization. So even though she's a Patriot fan, she still goes to all these Raider games just because it's the Raider game. People pay $1 million for the VIP section behind the goalposts at Raiders games. So people are still gonna watch. It being rigged, like I said, it doesn't benefit anyone because the allure of who anybody can really win it. It's not a committee get you into the playoffs. The Buccaneers could theoretically either the Buccaneers, the Saints, or the Falcons can finish this season 8-9, win the division, get a home playoff game against. So that'd be 2, 3, 4. So 4 would play 5. 5 could potentially be Detroit or even the Rams, but it's going to be at home. So you're going to have an 8-9 team that is going to have a home playoff game, and they just catch fire. Keep in mind, like the year that the Giants beat the 18-0 Patriots, they were 9-7, 10-6,
9-7 both times.
9-7 both times, and Eli Manning had 2 of the greatest throws in the history of the Super Bowl. You couldn't write that.
But you could write
a movie that good.
But you could write Eli against Peyton in the Super Bowl if you wanted to.
And it never happened.
Never got. Well, I mean, I guess it got close a couple times, maybe. But
I don't know. I don't know how close it really get because Eli, outside of those Super Bowl runs, was god awful for most of his career. He's gonna make the Hall of Fame, but his seasons weren't. The Giant seasons under Eli weren't that great.
Well, the
consistent.
one that I thought of was because that was more your idea, but the one that I thought of was back when Pittsburgh beat Seattle. Oh, I'm sorry. No. They beat Arizona to win their sixth Super Bowl. They
Correct.
became Sixburg, So why would you not, if it was scripted, you would either have San Francisco or Dallas, since they both have 5 Super Bowls. You could have had them play Pittsburgh, and the winner is the first team to get 6 Super Bowls. And, that would have been a hell of a story.
Kurt Warner winning that game would have been a hell of a story because he was a guy came out of the supermarket
Mm-hmm.
and
And
he
he
won a
and he
Super
had
Bowl with
like
the
fallen
Rams.
off before he went to Arizona.
He was basically relegated to second string when they drafted Eli in New York. Then he went to Arizona. Arizona had like a 9-7 season, but I remember they beat Atlanta. Atlanta was 11-5 that year. They beat Atlanta, and then they go to the Super Bowl.
They beat
And
Philly.
I still do not believe until this day that Santonio Holmes got that second toe down. I'll because he had the yellow cleats. I still believe to this day that toe was on the back
even,
of his right foot was on the back of his left foot.
even though I don't think the NFL is rigged, I did think that their previous Super Bowl win against Seattle was rigged.
That was close.
That was an
Rob,
awful officiated game.
it was a couple of bad calls, but still, Antoine Randall L threw that pass to
Hines Ward.
But if it was rigged, Jerome Bettis doesn't fumble against Indianapolis, and then the corner picks it up and lets Ben Roethlisberger tackle him right away.
My guy Willie Parker going
But he
70 yards.
he got stabbed in the leg.
Yeah.
The corner for that picked the ball up for Indy. He got stabbed in the leg by his girlfriend or something that week.
Yeah.
But he played in the game with stitches in his leg, and I was like, that's the reason he got caught. Like, I don't think the NFL goes to that length. The stories are great, and I think I love.
You know what? I got one.
I love it. I love to hear them.
If the NFL was rigged, Peyton Manning ain't scoring 9 points in the Super Bowl.
Was it even 9?
I think it was 43-9.
Was it 43-9 or 43-5?
Because I know the first play of the game was a safety.
Yeah, they had 5. I don't think they got the 9. It might have been 5. I think it might have been 43-5. Because they had the safety on the first play. Because I had Super Bowl squares. Because me and you watched that game.
43-8.
43-8. Yeah.
Yeah.
We watched that game at Mike's.
But that's definitely not happening if the NFL is rigged. Peyton Manning was the golden child.
They wouldn't have a Super Bowl at MetLife.
If the NFL was rigged, Peyton Manning would have Tom Brady's accomplishments.
Tom Brady wouldn't have Tom Brady's accomplishments. It was rigged. He is not the story. You would have what Super Bowl matchup did I have? I was like, oh, if the NFL was rigged, you'd have New England versus Dallas. You
said Romo, yeah.
You'd have a New England Dallas Super Bowl because you have America's team being Dallas, and then America's team being the Patriots. They were both essentially disliked by most NFL fans.
I can't lie to you. I don't want to go all Sean McDermott up in here, but when the Patriots won the Super Bowl after 9/11, and then the Saints of all teams, for the fact that they even won a Super Bowl ever,
shows that the NFL is rigged. Atlanta's been to 2 Super Bowls, and both of them were heartbreaking. The starting safety out here trying to get a hooker.
The man of the year. He was the NFL man of the year.
He was like the team preacher.
Eugene Robinson.
Out here trying to get hookers, and then Rod Smith burns him on a slant route. I
would imagine, so this one is a struggle for me, but I would imagine that just from a polarizing standpoint, the NFL would have wanted Carolina to win.
The Carolina New England
Super Bowl? No, the Von Miller Super Bowl.
Oh, why? I don't think they want Peyton. What's the boy name? I don't think they want Cam Newton as their poster boy for quarterback.
No, because you gotta still have controversy, and you still have to have like villains and heroes.
Me and you are writing the script. We're in the NFL vault, and we get down to the Super Bowl, and we got Carolina, Denver, and you want Cam Newton to win it over Peyton Manning for controversy?
Because at the
That's the
time,
script you want to write.
Peyton Manning was on his last legs. Like he was pretty much out of the league. Cam won MVP that year.
Yeah, he won
So
MVP, but that's what
yeah,
they gave him.
so
Like, you got
theoretically,
MVP.
Cam had more left than Peyton, and he's a story going forward if they win that Super Bowl.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If I'm writing new stories every year in the script room, I don't need the story to carry over. It's not like Game of Thrones. I
Well, the
go
story,
right back to
the
House of
story is going
Dragons.
to carry over like either way, though. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I'd give it. I like the John Elway, Jerome Bettis, Peyton Manning Super Bowl right off into the sunset. I think that's like I think people admire that. I think that story sells. I mean, Jerome Bettis won the Super Bowl in his
bro,
hometown.
all I know is Hulk Hogan used to win every WrestleMania, and,
Because it was scripted.
and then in 2000, I know everybody's like, "What the hell is he talking about?" In 2000,
Yo, the show
you,
gets deep, baby. We get
you
deep.
had a four-way match with The Rock, The Big Show, Mankind, and Triple H. And Triple H won. He was the first bad guy to win in WrestleMania history. And everybody was going bananas. They were upset. They were talking about they weren't going to ever watch it again. But obviously, you know, they were full of it. So that's what I mean. So if Cam Newton wins,
so you want Cam Newton to be the new age guy that wins?
Yeah, because people already hated him anyway. So that just puts the cherry on top because he's a champion and you hate him. You know, like, why am I wasting my time hating on a dude that ain't got a ring? So like, look at like we talk about LeBron all the time, right? You know, you can hate on LeBron because he's like at worst the second best player of all time. So you can hate on him and it resonates and it does all this and it's talked about all the time. But ain't nobody up in here like hating on Devin Booker to that level. You know what I mean?
I get that part, but I don't think the hate resonates as much unless it's a dual combination situation. Like it's you have something like
that would have been perfect.
The Peyton Manning Dallas Cowboys would be dope.
But that was perfect.
No, Tom Brady Dallas would have been dope. Super Bowl.
Yeah, but the Cam Newton thing, that would have been perfect because he spits in the face of authority and like all this and all that, and he would have took out everybody's hero. He would have sent the hero. You know?
I don't think Cam Newton really spit in the face of authority because I've been watching some interviews with him, and he said he sat down with the owner, and the owner basically gave him a blueprint of how he wanted him to operate as a quarterback. That's why I guess he didn't get tattoos. And he didn't grow his hair because that previous owner, and we learned later that previous owner had a little bit more of a racist fire in his fireplace.
Right.
So, but I do like. I'm trying to think what would have been like the best combination.
I would have loved. I brought this up in our pre-meeting. I would have loved a Raider 49er Super Bowl. You know, just because of those fan bases, the hate and all that stuff. Like, I don't see how you wouldn't, if it was rigged, I don't see how you wouldn't book that.
Set that up.
Yeah, at least just
They've had how many Super Bowls in Dallas? At least 2 or 3, right? They had the Steelers Packers one was in Dallas. So we kept having this whole like team never played in their home stadium.
And now we got 2 of them in the last 4 years.
So we wait to the COVID year with the stadium half full to get you Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes.
And then the Rams did it.
You got to rig it better than that.
Yeah, and then the Rams did it. You know, like the year after.
Yeah, you can't have a hip hop halftime show when the sun's still up. It just didn't work. That's supposed to be an East Coast like. You can have like Taylor Swift performing when the sun's up or Pink.
Yo, I was Fergie. So like
you can't even see walking when the sun's up. It just didn't have the same effect.
Well, remember that year? That was the year that Stafford threw the pick, or the should have been pick, and Tart dropped it, and so we almost ended up at Cincinnati, San Francisco. which would have been the third time that they would have played in the Super
That
Bowl.
would have been the three-peat. You would have brought everybody back.
Yeah.
Everybody. You would have
Why
had
would you
Boomer
not do
Science,
that if it was rigged?
Ickey
Why would
Wood,
you not?
Sean Taylor, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. You'd have what's the boy name? The
Boomer?
tight end.
Did you say Boomer?
I said Boomer. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was a big fan of Cincinnati when I was growing up, like because the Ickey Shuffle.
Hey, Chris Collinsworth,
Collinsworth, come on.
Merton Hanks
Yo, with the neck.
with the neck. Yeah.
Yo, it would have been bananas to have that, but of course, they was like, nah, we will go with this LA,
I would have
Cincinnati.
imagined that a team like Philly, not necessarily a team, but a city like Philly would have got a Super Bowl before they did. You know, with their fans and like the
Their
like
fans
that.
never lost passion, so you're good to go. You can
Yeah,
keep,
but it's just good for business.
they're gonna
Now,
keep showing up.
you know,
That's the thing. They're gonna
I
keep
got
selling out
one.
the link. They're gonna keep selling out the link. They had the new stadium, they're good to go.
How come we never got a Subway Super Bowl?
Jets, Giants.
Could you imagine?
Yo. I'm hoping for that. I hope it figures out
If
some
the
kind
Super
of way.
Bowl is ever in MetLife again, which I don't know if it will be because they froze
If the
everybody.
Super Bowl wasn't in MetLife and then it looked like the Jets and the Giants were gonna make the Super Bowl, I think they would make arrangements to move it to MetLife. Because can you imagine, first of all, if you're not from here, getting around on the trains and the buses and everything else, it feels like an inconvenience. But when you're from here, it's just kind of par for the course. So a Jet Giants Super Bowl at MetLife, shut it
Nuts.
down.
Yo, how about Ravens 49ers this year, but it's reversed. Baltimore has the Kaepernick now, and San Francisco has the Flacco.
As the pocket passer,
Yeah. You know,
that'd be nuts. That'd be nuts. Like I
especially the
said,
way that Super Bowl went, the lights going out, the
that's the type
crazy
of stuff that makes. Yo, we made a drinking game up because
in Korea,
we were in
yeah.
Korea. Yeah,
Mhm.
yo, I was lit because the game came on at 10 o'clock in the morning. Yo, when Jacoby Jones scored the touchdown, I think we took shots because if you're cheering for the Ravens
And,
and they scored a touchdown, you had to take a shot. If your team
and
gave up a special teams touchdown, you had to take a shot. If a special team touchdown was scored, you had to take a shot. If a kickoff was returned, I think if the play was longer than like 75 yards, it was all these little stipulations that.
and,
So the 13 of us in this room were like, we were just pouring soju.
and think about it. Keeping up with what you like, Ray Lewis went off into the sunset.
He did go off into the sunset.
When he was about to get busted for using the deer antler spray.
Yo, and in his previous Super Bowl, he killed a dude. So it's like, things are crazy.
Even in baseball, like thinking about baseball, I would have imagined we would have got Dodgers Yankees sometime in the last 15 years.
And not even close.
Yeah, not even close. I guess close, the Dodgers have made the World Series and the Yankees, made the ALCS, so we were close a couple times and people were hoping for it. I was taking money from people because I was like, give me the Astros. And they're like, no, dude, this is the Yankees year. And I'm like, give me that money, bro. Give me that money.
I remember Stephen A. Smith was talking about it during COVID. He was like, so you mean to tell me all these years I've been in basketball, I've been reporting, and we get a Miami, LA NBA Finals.
And it's in the bubble.
And it's in the bubble in Orlando and I can't go. Yeah. He was like, can you think about Miami and LA? But it was like,
well, what about the Knicks? I'm sure like the NBA would love
the Knicks if professional leagues, starting with the NFL, because I think NFL is king of the professional leagues.
Right.
Zion, Kevin Durant, and LeBron all would have been in New York. They would have sat in there like, listen, here, close the door, turn the cameras off. Hey, LeBron, you're not going to LA. You're going to the Knicks. We'll figure out the luxury tax stuff. We're going to give you the biggest contract ever. but we need you in New York.
The NFL,
Can you imagine if he did go to New York though?
yeah, I know. Unbearable. Like the NFL ain't no way they were going to let Barry Sanders and Megatron retire.
They would have thrown him something. They would have thrown him a bone, considering that you saw it happening. You saw what happened with Barry Sanders, and then you see what was happening with Megatron. And it's like, yo, history is about to repeat itself. So that pass interference call against Dallas would have got called, and then Matthew Stafford would have, finally won a playoff game.
As slanted as NFL coverage is to the NFC East, we would have got a lot more Dallas versus somebody in the NFC Championship game.
Oh yeah, they would have called a hold on the Aaron Rodgers when he's rolling to his left and threw that pass to Jared Cook. It would have been a hold somewhere because he's rolling out. I guarantee you, there's a hold. I'm a firm believer that every big play in the NFL, passing or rushing,
here's a question.
There's a hold or a block in the back. Even my own son, like I said, I looked at one of his highlights when he rolled out to the left on the quarterback keeper, 70-yard touchdown. I looked at the play. It was a kid literally holding another kid's arm like this. I'm like, they didn't call it, didn't count.
Here's a question. And this is like the reverse rig, because when people think of rigging, they think of teams winning or, whatever, like, teams being helped with a flag or like a whistle. But here's a question. How come America, ESPN, and sport leagues don't like Atlanta?
Like the city?
Yeah, like I feel like the Falcons, like I've watched, now, I'm not even a Falcons fan.
Correct.
That play, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. Like, it was probably last year when Grady Jarrett sacked Tom Brady.
And he rolled on Grady's lap.
They threw that flag. And, when I see the Hawks, like, because when I think of Atlanta, I think of a big city, right? Like, I don't know market size, if they're big, but, I look like Phoenix is a big city.
They got to be top 8.
But they don't get,
imagine that they're top 8.
Like Phoenix is a big city, but they don't get coverage like a big city. When I look at the NFL or NBA, it's New York, LA, so on and so forth. But Atlanta is a big city too, and they don't seem to get that respect. Like free agents don't go there, like in the NBA at least. Like like free agents never go to
NFL the as well. Yeah,
Like why don't people like Atlanta? Why doesn't Atlanta succeed? I guess that's the way to put it.
I like, you think about it. I think baseball, they just won a World Series pretty recently. I think the 28-3 really does resonate. Like I said, most of those players aren't on that team anymore.
Right.
If I had to guess, I'm gonna say probably 0.
Yeah, I would think 0 because that was like 7-8 years ago now.
Maybe Grady Jarrett might have been on the team that Super Bowl run. I believe he was. Kickers and punters are all gone. Coaching staff is different. Quarterback is different. Wide receiver core is all different. No tight end. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the whole team is completely overhauled.
And they still play like that.
And they still play like they were on the team. It's like they see these highlights, like randomly YouTube pulls up Super Bowl games and playoff games as we're doing these shows. I think a few weeks ago it pulled up the Atlanta one. I pulled the remote control out. I was like,
well, Atlanta feels to me like whether it's the Hawks or the Falcons, it doesn't even matter. They feel like the Cubs to me before the Cubs won the World Series. Like they
wouldn't have gone 108 years without winning the World Series. The Pro Sports are rigged.
Yeah,
they're one of the most popular ones.
Yeah, the Red Sox, they went like 100 years before that 0-3 comeback against the Yankees.
I think it was
like 90-something years. It was around the same time.
I think it was 84 years, but then they had to come back from down 3-1.
Yeah,
or 3-0.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And then A-Rod knocking the ball out of his hand. It's crazy. I just think I understand what people, because me and you have had this conversation before. I understand that if you are an executive even though I think it's short sighted, I don't agree with it. And that's the thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like people, I think now in our day and age, we have this expectation that I have to agree with you to understand it. I can understand why you're upset about your breakup. I just don't agree with the fact that you're moping about it. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
I get it. I get it. Like it happens. I just don't
right.
get why you walk around here like it's everybody else's problem. Like I understand that. So I understand why people think like, yo, I think the NFL would prefer this matchup. I think the NBA would prefer this matchup. I just don't know
We
how
didn't even say
you.
Lakers Cavs.
Oh, this. Oh, the Lakers Cavs with Kobe
Yeah,
LeBron. Not Lakers Cavs, Kobe LeBron.
yeah.
We don't care about
Oh,
Ilgauskas
okay.
and whoever else is on the team. They wanted Kobe LeBron. And it would have happened if they would have called like some illegal screens or something, all those 3-pointers that Orlando was dropping, but they were just dropping clean 3-pointers. It was nothing to do. I mean, you had Delonte West and Mo Williams trying to guard Turkoglu
Yo,
with Michael P. George.
could you imagine sports talk if
If
we got
LeBron
that
beat
series
Kobe,
in the no, if the other way around? Could you
if Kobe
imagine?
beat LeBron,
Yes, could
nah,
you
nah, nah.
imagine?
I don't think it would be. I think it would be crazier if LeBron beat Kobe because people already believe Kobe is better than LeBron. People argue that already. But if Kobe was 5-2 in the finals and LeBron was 4-6 as he is now, but one of his four was him beating Kobe, it would just be chaos.
See, and I think it's the reverse. I think that people have been trying to position LeBron ahead of Kobe since like 2005. And
Yeah, but I think recently people have been doing more to try to
but see,
push
but see,
Kobe.
I think it's but
Ever since Kobe's tragic passion, I think people have been kind of sliding him in, but
well, I,
like
I
not
think it's
necessarily
in a
like
vacuum. I think it's
yeah,
in a vacuum because I think, and I've told you this before. This is probably the first time I've said it on this show, but I feel that before he died, when he was still alive and well, the media was literally trying to erase Kobe in front of our eyes in real time. Like you had people, even people that I respect, like Bomani Jones, like they were using all these analytics to try to, like the
yeah.
efficiency
They had
numbers don't
Kobe
love
like
Kobe. And
8th, 9th, 12th. They had him behind Larry Bird. They had him everywhere.
yeah,
And
and
then
it,
when he
but to
passed,
do
they
that, but
started
to
moving
do
him up.
that, but like to me, because we always get it, me and you get into this argument a lot, where you always notice the people that are negative towards LeBron. And that's like Joe Blow out here on Twitter that nobody knows. But as far as the people that are supposed to be reporting and objective and all that kind of stuff, the media is, besides like Skip Bayless and Rob Parker, are so team LeBron that LeBron fans don't notice that or they just ignore it.
I think
And
my biggest thing with that is that because, like I said, this is something I noticed about people talk about Kobe. I was telling someone about I was talking to like a female friend of mine who likes basketball, and we were sitting there, we were just talking. I think it was at my friend's house, and the game was on, and I was like, all these dudes come up here telling their great Kobe stories. Kobe wouldn't have liked them. Like Kobe wouldn't have liked the way these dudes played. They wouldn't like the way the seasons ended. Like Kobe was very, very vocal about what he liked and didn't like
Kobe would have
about
told
players.
Jason Tatum to shut up and man up.
Yo, he wouldn't like all
He would
these
have
dudes
told
talking
Paul
about
George,
I'm Mamba mentality and all sort of stuff. Like Kobe was like when he started growing the beard and put regular like
yeah,
6'7", 6'8" frame weight on, and he was doing an interview with T Mac and smiling a lot. Yeah, he was coming around, but for the most part, Kobe wasn't out here giving these guys respectful comments. Every once in a while, you got the video in preseason when he slapped Steph Curry in the butt when he crossed him up. That shit didn't happen in February. It
now
happened
Kobe,
in
like
November.
like
Yeah, he was
Paul
cool in
George, Paul
September.
George would have walked up to Kobe and been like, "What up, Kobe?" And then Kobe would have been like, "What's your name again?"
Like, why are you talking to me? Or when Iman Shumpert told an honest story, he was like, "You had a good game, young fella." He's like, after 3 quarters, like we got a whole fourth quarter. He's like, I've been stealing the ball from you all game, and
well,
he's
that's
like,
like when, well, that's like I was listening to one of my old mixtapes, from like 2002 or whatever, and I was listening to I was listening to one of them Rockefeller mixtapes, like the Hot 97 joint. And they had this Cormega joint
Only
on there.
16.
Yeah, I think the CD was I think it was Street Wars. And they had Cormega, he had a song going at Nas, and he was like, Thug Match and Pac ain't even like you. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, like, you
So
know what
that's
I
the
mean?
thing. I just noticed that, like I said, I understand like from you because I never even thought about the small market, big market, but they want it. The NBA wants, the NFL wants. I don't know if MLB really cares. I think MLB is all about just baseball and it
Well,
being
yeah, I
American
think baseball
pastime.
fans are sort of like football fans. Like they would probably, I mean, this last World Series, I think was the lowest rated one. The Rangers and Diamondbacks. It was
Yeah,
the lowest rated World Series. But I think true baseball fans, true football fans
appreciated it.
will just watch whatever it is.
Yeah, and baseball. The thing about baseball fans, baseball teams, when they smell proverbial blood in the water, like yo, this is our year, they go for it.
Yeah.
You look at NFL teams. I've been yelling about my team that I support, the Atlanta Falcons, to make moves to go for it now. My stream's gone.
This fool just got
So
ejected.
Draymond,
He just fucking yeah, like he was. It looked like he was trying to post up Nurkic. They're bumping. Post up. They're bumping. Draymond does the flail. And hits him in the face, like slaps him in the face. And of course, Nurkic falls like on his face, like he got shot in the back. You know what I
I've
mean?
never fallen on a basketball court in my entire life.
if
I've
I
never been
did,
hit in the face and fallen on the ground on a
if I
basketball court in
fell,
my
if I
entire life.
fell on a basketball court, it was because I twisted my ankle or something. like I came down on a rebound and
One
I was
time,
like, ugh.
some dude hit me low like he was trying to tackle me. That's probably it. I've never.
Yeah, he was flailing. He kind of like he was doing like the get off me thing.
I like Draymond. I like his intensity. I like the fact that he's undersized and he plays. He's like the new Charles Barkley.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the
Dog, like
video when I get it. But
you
yeah,
gotta
like
tighten up.
so, but
Yeah,
but
like I
like
said, like
yeah, so
like NFL teams, like don't go for it right now. There's conversations I saw on First Take today. Should the Jets bring Zach Wilson back? A baseball team would trade him and get whatever they can get,
he would
and
already
hope
be gone.
whatever they can get for him turns out to be successful.
He would already be
NFL
gone.
teams hold on. I think Matt Ryan held on to Atlanta 2 extra years that he shouldn't have. I think Atlanta held on to Dan Quinn about a year and a half longer than they should have. I think the Jets are going to hold on to Robert Saleh probably a little longer. I applaud Denver for getting rid of a coach, on time. But I was like, in the same sense, you then reached and got a guy that didn't really fit. Uh, the Steelers, they're going to hold on to Mike Tomlin, which makes sense. But they're not gonna get rid of Kenny Pickett. I don't think Carolina's gonna get rid of Bryce Young. So a lot of NFL teams, they look at the contract as like the thing that makes them make their decisions. Whereas baseball is like, oh yeah, I signed this guy to a 5-year, $125 million deal, but he's a left-handed pitcher. The Yankees feel like they're about to make a run. We could trade him to the Yankees and get 4 of their prospects and
Mhm.
2 starters back. Let's just do it.
Well, see, and that's where like teams like the Diamondbacks and teams like my Orioles, that's where they become loved in that way because it's pure. Like they took the prospects and developed them. So that's why, even in sports like college football, like I think people they don't want to see them win the national title or anything like that. But I think people appreciate the Northwesterns and the Wake Forests that just have the average Joe non 5-star athlete,
Yeah,
but they
I
come
think people are
together.
sick of Georgia. I think people are sick of the teams that are, permanently in the top 8.
Yeah.
9 through 65, we love those teams. We love watching them play. We love seeing their players in the league. Most of
Yeah.
us go to those colleges. Maybe you go to them online. I mean, you wore a Western Kentucky University shirt last week. I think it's just the it just for some reason the rigged the rigged piece, I like to hear from people who believe it. My
Mhm.
pops is one of those guys that thinks there's something amuck, but he's a retired army guy and he is critical of almost everything.
I mean,
So
there's
I
definitely
like
some
having that
things.
conversation. I like having a conversation mainly because there's no real evidence. So I don't, because I think in evidence, I think logically. So I like to hear from people who have a different viewpoint because it allows me to either engage them logically or it makes me think, how does this make logical sense? Like,
My,
did
my
you say
favorite,
something to me that made sense? And I'm like, you
my,
know what? If I'll listen to you. If I think you said something to me that made sense,
my,
I'll
my
rock with it.
favorite,
I appreciate that wholeheartedly. And that's the thing that you don't really get in social media now because it's like you only get people who agree with you.
now my favorite is I got a boy that thinks that the All-Star game format changed for LeBron and the in-season tournament was created for LeBron.
Please have him elaborate so we can discuss this further. Because that
But yeah. So when he told me that, I just I had to let my brain heal a little bit. So, speaking of healing, there's some players that you've been thinking about that may have hurt themselves by trying to come back too early. They should have took some time. Who you got in mind?
we have these stories of like guys. You got Brandon Roy, like recently got Alonzo Ball. Kyler Murray's back now. Uh, I know Adrian Peterson's exception to the rule.
Mhm.
Peyton Manning did himself like he took a whole year off after the surgery, goes to Denver, throws 50 plus touchdowns or 50 touchdowns, breaks his own record. Uh, or he broke Tom
He
Brady's
broke
record.
Brady's record. Yeah.
Broke Brady's record,
I think he threw 55 touchdowns or something like that.
which is a long time rival of his.
Mhm.
So who Tom Brady broke Peyton's record. So it's like to take a year off. You probably thinking, is my career over? Am I done? The team that was paying you and drafted you for all these years, they essentially let you go, pick any team you want, and then you go to Denver, break the record, eventually win a Super Bowl. So you got a couple Super Bowls under your belt. Uh, I just think like a guy like Le'Veon Bell, he was a running back. I don't think he took his year off properly because he was ready to go. So if he took his year off and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna get in a different kind of shape. That way, when I do sign with another team next year, I'm gonna be way better than I was a year ago. Because people are like, oh, you're missing a year, your prime. I'm like, you're also not getting hit
Right.
for 16 games. You really get
Right.
the heal. I saw a video yesterday, and this kind of sparked this conversation a little bit. Michael Vick was talking about he was watching the highlight of him in overtime against Minnesota, the famous highlight when he was playing the Jordan 17s on that carpet, and he ran through all those arm tackles, scored a touchdown, and threw the ball into the stands. He was like, "Man, I was playing with a sprained thumb, two sprained AC joints, and like different pains in each shoulder." Unfortunately, he gets charged with dog fighting. Has to do 2 years in prison. He comes out of prison still pretty much in his prime, but he got the heel. He didn't get tackled for 2 whole years. I think he was playing like backyard football out of Leavenworth. Came back, goes to Philly, learns from Andy Reid, signs another $100 million deal. I think he was the first guy to sign $200 million
Mhm.
contracts, and pretty much revitalized his entire career. I don't know if he's on TV without the success that he had in Philly.
Right.
I don't know if he makes it to Philly if he stays in Atlanta with Jim Mora Jr., basically not holding him accountable for throwing the ball or not throwing the ball and not
And
studying
not
film. And
reading
he's
the
just running,
playbook.
not reading the playbook, and he's just running all the time. And so those 2 years that he was locked up, he's on the Falcons, and they were close. Like every year, like they got the NFC Championship game, they got the new uniforms, they got the new stadium. Like Vic was like the guy. He was on Madden. I don't know if he makes it to the years that he played in Philly without being essentially on the shelf for 2 years.
Mhm. Well,
So for that,
I wasn't thinking about this until you brought up the Le'Veon Bell thing. But I started thinking about Maurice Claret when you said that. Because he took the year off, was trying to fight to get to the NFL early. And so in my mind, I was like, hey, he's about to go to the NFL. He's got a year off, not getting hit.
Wasn't rehabbing though. He wasn't trying to
Mm-hmm.
get healthy. He was healthy. He sat out healthy. So you're doing healthy shit. You're doing vacations. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing chilling. You're going to clubs. You got your money, whatever you got. So you're not rehabbing for a year. A guy like Kyler Murray was probably better off just flat out sitting out all year long, because no one needs to see you play 6 mediocre games for the Arizona Cardinals for your agent to be able to negotiate and get you, because your deal's already good. Your deal's locked in for at least this season and next season. And then whatever the buyout is, whatever that math is, yeah, you signed a $260 million deal.
And
It was like
yeah.
130 or 40 this
And
year.
what are you doing? Because I mean, like, you would think in most scenarios, you would think, let's play him up his trade value. But I don't even think they're doing that.
I haven't really seen him.
Because at this point, if they do trade him, the thought is already you guys are drafting top 3 to 5. You're probably taking a quarterback.
Correct.
So you
You
can't
got
increase
to
his
get rid
trade
of him
value. Yeah, because you have to get rid of him. You're not going to draft a guy like, say, Drake May
and
and
have
have
him
him
sit
sit a
behind
year
Trilla.
behind him. Especially when they're not even comparable as far as the type of system that.
The playbook. Yeah, the playbook doesn't match up.
Right. Now, if you drafted Caleb Williams, maybe. But also with Caleb Williams' personality, he's not the type of dude that you're going to draft and sit on the bench either.
Yeah, he didn't want to sit behind Spencer Rattler in college. You think he's going to want to sit behind essentially the exact same guy in NFL?
Yeah, so just like I keep hearing about all this stuff, obviously he's not going to play, but they keep talking about Aaron Rodgers and how, like I mentioned earlier, Christmas Eve, he's supposed to be throwing again or whatever, and it's like, if he
You
don't sit
shouldn't
his
be.
old ass down somewhere
You shouldn't be doing anything until March.
at the earliest.
Like, what are you doing for the Jets? They already paid you. People are already excited. These are Jet fans. They come out every game.
You're 5-8.
They leave early.
You're 5-8. You're not coming back to lead. This ain't RELAX. This ain't that.
Yeah.
You know.
So Lonzo Ball was trying to come back. Like,
Mhm.
take that time. Take that time
You
to
young.
You're young. And I know that people feel like, oh, it's you against the world and you never get an opportunity. Think about all the guys that are playing in their mid-30s right now. You got Steph is in his mid-30s. KD's in his mid-30s. Draymond's
Paul
in his
George is
mid-30s.
33.
Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron
Harden.
James in his late. Harden, Westbrook. These guys, you can still make it. So if you get an opportunity to sit for a year and actually get healthy, look at Dirk. Dirk played an extra year. And if you watch Dirk walk around now, it's like he's about to tip over.
He looked like he needs that
Sometimes like,
100% disability.
you just need to just be like, you know what? Let me sit tight for a year and get healthy.
Well,
Like
like Lonzo
it's like a gap
is.
year from school. It's like people do it for mental health. It's like I got out of high school, I grind. I graduated with my 3.7 or 3.8 or 4.0 GPA, whatever it was. I got to college and I'm taking all these classes and I'm grinding and I haven't taken a break. I haven't taken a mental break. So I'm gonna take a gap year. As long as
Like
you get back to
Lonzo's
it,
what, 26 at most?
if that,
Because
is same
he was
age
in
as
that same
Tatum,
draft as Tatum and
Markel
Fox
Fultz.
and yeah.
Yeah, Markel Fultz. He probably would have benefited. I don't know if he took that time off. I know he tore his ACL, but took some time off, got right. Yeah, he's not a star NBA player, but
Oh, you know who I just thought about?
ooh,
Since we were talking basketball, because initially when we were talking about it pregame, I was thinking football. But now that you're saying the things that you're saying, I'm like, Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant sat. Brooklyn gave him the deal, and he sat for that whole
Well, not
time.
even that. I was talking about when he tried to come back for the finals.
And that's why he needed to sit
Yeah,
tight. He
that's why
didn't
he
try to
needed
come
that
back
year.
early
Yeah.
again. So he tore his Achilles, and then he sat. And he just sat for that whole year. Brooklyn didn't Brooklyn didn't have videos of him shooting jump shots coming out. Same thing with Ben Simmons. Ben, if it was your back or if it was your relationship with the team, just sit the whole year.
Right.
Don't try to come back. Just sit back. You're young. You're gonna get time. So if you don't get to play from 26 to 27, that's fine. You'll get to
Mhm.
play from 27 to 34. But like I said, in the case of Michael Vick, if he doesn't sit for those 2 years, he had broke his leg. He was constantly getting hit. He admittedly never read the playbook. He never knew wasn't allowed to audible with Jim Mora Jr. So basically, if he didn't know what the play was, he would just roll left and just go. He's like, my athletic ability was going to get me through. Well, there's corners that run just as fast as him. There's safeties that run at an angle just as fast as him, and they're hitting him every time.
Mhm.
So he got 2 years to not get hit. Like I said, we talked about Peyton Manning. Tom Brady, when he tore his ACL in week 1, he wasn't trying to come back for the playoff run. He was like,
And
I'm
you would
sitting
have
here.
thought that if anybody would have, it would have been him.
That intensity, Kobe with the Achilles.
And his fingers, like his finger.
He just sat, just sit back, like get your body right,
Yeah,
figure
Kobe
it out.
played with mangled fingers for like the last 10 years of his career.
They were just popping him back into place all the time. His fingers just extended, like he popped his back into
Like
place.
maybe for all those people that bang on his efficiency, maybe he would have been a little more efficient if his fingers got fixed.
Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard was playing through back issues,
Mhm.
trying to prove to Kobe, and then when he went to Houston that I'm not soft. Like, dog, just sit out, get
Right.
right for a year. Because when he essentially went to not getting a lot of burn, and he went to the Lakers, he was a viable piece in that 2020 championship. Because it was like
Derrick
this
Rose?
Derrick Rose. You never see Derrick Rose trying to fight his way back on the court. He just gets healthy. And then he
Mhm.
gets healthy, he gets his time, and now we see him out there playing. It's crazy. Like it has to be some science to it. Like I know they give these guys these timelines, and you look at guys like I said, like Adrian Peterson when he came back in 9 months. That first game he broke through, but you never see Adrian Peterson get chased down from behind. I think he ended up still scoring a touchdown, but normally you don't even chase him. Once he gets to the second
It's
level,
over.
it's over. But that first game back from that ACL surgery, granted it was only 9 months. RG3. RG3's career is way different if he just doesn't play that playoff game. Let Kirk Cousins do his thing. But you're so concerned with your spot being taken out there with the Adidas sleeve on. Like, if you need that much stuff on
Yo, I
for your
felt
knee
like
to stay warm and braced up, then just stay. Like, because matter of fact, he did it. He came back early for the playoff game, came back in the beginning of the season. Remember, because he tore the
yep.
ACL like reaching for the ball. They
Mhm.
took him out the field, Kirk Cousins, and then essentially, I won't say forced his way back, but like, oh, he's just, he's so prepared. Dog, like
Well, you
you're
know,
on a rookie deal. It was a good deal back in the day, like 2012. You're getting a good rookie deal. Get healthy. If you got to go to another team, at least be healthy. And
it
he was
goes back to
never
that
healthy.
conversation that we had before we came on, where we were talking about LeBron and people would say this, people would say that. Football is one of those sports where if RG3 didn't play that playoff game, then everybody's questioning his toughness, questioning if he's the guy, questioning if Washington made a mistake. So I think with football, the pride kicks in. I think basketball, maybe they just want to play, but with football, I think there's a certain pride that comes with
That
it.
gladiator bravado.
And I think that's what did RG3 in.
Philip Rivers playing an AFC Championship game against New England with the ACL.
I think him
That was
and
a
him and Ladainian were hurt.
big braces on. Looked like he had a third leg on. It's like, dog, what are you gonna do in 2 weeks when you play in the Super Bowl if you do win this game? It's not gonna get
Right.
any better. So,
Yeah.
like I said, just if you got a ligament tear and a vital ligament that you need, or it actually tears, Kyler
hmm
Murray, you tore your ACL in December. You came back to play for a team that was like 1-8 in November. To
hmm
do what? To be out there with teammates that are going to be all different next year.
Good luck against San Francisco this weekend.
Running for your life from Fred Warner and Greenlaw.
And Bosa.
and
You
Chase
know.
Young and Gregory and
Rid-
Kinlaw
Ridiculous. Yo,
and
did you
Ward
see?
off corner blitzes. It's like it just doesn't make any sense to put
Side note.
yourself at risk because when you get injured, you're gonna get replaced anyway. You're not when you're already under contract. Like Jimmy Garoppolo. Look at Jimmy Garoppolo. Keep trying to come back from stuff. Dog,
Mhm.
you are injured. Just sit out.
Quick side note. Did you see Fred Warner and Metcalf the other day?
Yo, the picture that I saw made it look like it was like a thumbnail. He was holding him like this. Made it look like he would pick them up over his head. He rolled him to the left.
But like what got me was like Metcalf just walking up to him and putting both hands on his face mask. Like,
I'm talking about the suplex. The suplex was the craziest part. The
oh
thing with
yeah,
these
yeah,
NFL
yeah,
players, like, listen, first of all, you're not gonna fight.
yeah.
You're not gonna fight. But you could do, I think, tackling a dude might be more impactful than punching a guy. Like if I can hit you, like if I take, you know what, I'm gonna just get a blindside block on you next chance I get.
Well, see, I'm gonna keep
I think that hurts more than me slap you in the helmet or jerking on your face
right.
mask. I'd
I'm
rather
gonna
do
keep
shit. If I'm gonna do something that's gonna get me fined and or like kicked out of the game, I'm gonna get a good hit in.
I'm gonna keep my
I don't
eye
know
on
why they I don't
Tyreek.
know why they still punching themselves.
I'm gonna keep my eye on Tyreek Hill this week. Our MVP because when he got injured last night, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was because it looked like there was a bit of a horse collar involved as well.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like the worst.
Yeah, but I thought Trevor Lawrence injury was gonna be worse.
I thought it was. I mean, he didn't look good. Like
No. I'm talking about when it happened because I
no,
watched it
no, I know, but I'm just
when
saying
he
he
got
didn't.
stepped on and he took his helmet off, and when he slammed his helmet, I was
Yeah.
thinking about recently Jalen Phillips, the
Mhm.
Miami linebacker, and when I mean, like it was the audio. I don't know how they got the audio that precise. Man, it's heartbreaking just hearing him like realize like when everyone's coming around, like he was sitting there, he kept his helmet on, and they came around. He was like, "I think I popped my Achilles. I think I popped it. I popped it. I definitely popped it." And then when he realized, like, I'm done.
Right.
Like in theory, he's done through next season.
Mhm.
If taking our advice from this from our C block here, he's done through November 2024.
Just take it all.
Just take the whole time. Renegotiate your contract if you're up for a contract. Take that whole time, and if you gotta go to another team, I get it. I know it's easier said than done because I'm in this position here. I'm in this room here with a bookshelf, and I'm going to a regular ass job tomorrow. To be like, hey, just take that year off. But if you come back too early and you're no good, they're gonna get rid of you. You might as well go ahead and stay. Excuse
Well,
me.
he's still. I mean,
On
he's still on the rookie deal. Like, he got drafted in 21.
yeah,
So he'll still be there, unless they do the heartbreak thing and cut him, because we've seen that from
we've seen it
NFL 2 or
happen a lot.
3.
We've seen that.
Yeah,
They do it in college. College, they give you 6 months to rehab.
yeah. College, they don't got to renew that scholarship year to year.
They got to give you that 6 months to rehab or whatever, like the doctor recommendation is. But normally, like most things, most ligament tears give you 6 months, and
Mhm.
then they can release you from your scholarship.
Yeah, that's so crazy to me.
Yeah, at a young troop, he went to Grambling. He was telling me he tore something. I can't remember what it was. Maybe a broken collarbone, or he either broke something or tore something. But he was like, I was on their insurance for 6 months, and at the end of the 6 months, they cleared me, and then that was it. He's like, I was a walk on, so like that was
Mhm.
it. He's like,
That's crazy.
I wasn't at a scholarship, so he's like, I was. It's like after that 6 months, I was done.
Wow, that's so heartbreaking, man. Like just to put in all the hard work that it took to make the team as a walk on.
Trying to beat out scholarship players. He's like, man, I would run on the field if it was 10 guys on the field on punt return or kickoff or on a play.
And you gotta
He said, I
imagine
play
too.
corner. He said, I run out there and get right in position, and they didn't want to waste the time out. He's like, they run a play. He's like, I'd hit somebody. He's like, I'd hit somebody as hard as I could to show coach I'm out
You
here to
gotta
play.
imagine
They would take him
going
off
through
the field.
something like that. Like he was probably competing against guys that were good enough to go to LSU, but maybe they got in trouble, or a guy that was going to go to Louisiana to the Raging Cajuns, but his grades weren't good enough. Something, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
A
and
guy that they wanted over him. Like Minkin,
right.
he was like, they wanted the other Scott. They wanted the guys that they were paying for to play.
I
And he
mean,
was
which
like,
makes sense. Yeah,
and he's
that's
like,
just
I was
crazy.
beating him out. He's like, I was beating him in practice. I was beating him. Anytime I got in the field, he's like, I was trying to beat him out. But it was like, he's like, I couldn't string together time. And then, you get
Yeah, it's
hurt.
crazy. Baker Mayfield was a walk on.
You got to grind.
Yeah, hats off. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the biggest Baker Mayfield fan, but but hats off.
Yeah, it
You
takes a lot
can't.
to go from walk on the Heisman to number one pick, but then they treat him
Mhm.
the same way he got treated. I think that's why he's doing better than a guy like Zach Wilson.
Mhm. 'Cause he
Because
had he had to work for it.
he had to get slapped around a little bit in college. Whereas Zach, I think Zach went to BYU, and we talk about Utah sports all the time. You are king in Utah
Mhm.
if you're an athlete.
Mhm.
Gordon Hayward, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Darren Williams, Boozer, Alex Smith, Kyle Winningham, the head coach, probably Bronco Mendenhall. You got guys like Fred Warner. If these guys come back and just they do whatever, they just come back to the city, they are considered kings because they are the gladiator figures for the state.
Mhm.
You being the top quarterback for BYU, I believe, I think Taysom Hill. Obviously, Taysom Hill was there. I think I think each one of them beat Utah in a rivalry game. I could be wrong. I don't want to misquote, but especially if you beat Utah, if you win a rivalry game and you're a quarterback at BYU, you're
Holy
Steve Young,
war. Mhm.
you're Jim McMahon, you're Steve Sarkisian, Ty Detmer. Like these are legendary. Like we all know these quarterbacks. Taysom Hill, like these guys are like Jack Wilson's in that same elk as far as like what Utah thinks of him, the state of Utah.
Mhm.
Whereas Baker Mayfield's a walk on here, cast off here, transferred here, uh,
You know.
still wins a Heisman, goes number one overall. The team
Speaking
gets another guy and brings him in and then sends you off to
speaking of Utah, they just might be my Big 12 favorites going into next year. I know that we're far, far, far away, but Cam Rising is finally going to be back.
and he's
They're
like
bringing
29 years old.
they're bringing back all 11 starters on offense. That's unheard of. So,
And not one school in the Big 12 that goes to Utah plays anywhere near that level of elevation.
well, I
Everything
mean,
is flat.
yeah, they're bringing Colorado with them, but that's about it.
Well, Colorado's the only one.
Yeah, yeah. So
Colorado's the only
that,
one.
but now that Dion got some linemen, we might get some good Utah Colorado games.
Transfer portal goes to Boulder.
Yeah, apparently. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I brought up Lincoln earlier.
Like if you think like I talked about this before, everybody knew what Dion needed.
Yeah, and
He
he went
said
and
it
got
out
it.
loud. He
I don't
said
know
it
if he
out
got
loud.
Louis. Like, that's what I said the other day. I don't know if he got Louis, but he got Hugo Boss at least.
Yeah, I mean, if you improved the athleticism from last year to this year, and then you can coach that up, because sometimes, like it's coaching, it's athleticism, is a combination. Like you can have a team full of like Bill Belichick can't take the practice squad and win a regular season NFL game.
Right,
So like
right,
it does take a balance.
right.
Whereas you have Jim Harbaugh took Mike Singletary's team and took him to the Super Bowl. Like
Mhm.
you had the talent there. I just need to scheme the match. I need to get one more tight end here, or find out what offensive tackle played tight end in college and have him report as eligible. Whatever you got to do.
Right,
Get rid of
right.
the running pocket passer and just bring in the quarterback that runs and give him some pocket passes. Whatever you have to do, whatever schematically you have to do. So I
Mhm.
think Dion, if he landed the one the top rated offensive tackle. Now Dion goes to your bundle of 4 or 5-star wide receivers. Like, listen, our protection is going to be top notch. You're going to be able to get open. I got Shador Sanders. And I think he got another 4-star commit from class of 2025 to commit a white quarterback. I forgot what his name was.
Well, I thought they lost that one.
I saw that he committed. I know he had a black quarterback that decommitted.
Yeah, I know because I thought they had lost a quarterback.
Because everybody picture they're all wearing number 2. Like every picture seems like they're all wearing number 2. I don't know if that's gonna be like a thing where like the Colorado quarterback wears 2 because that was Dion's number.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that might be like a thing. Like, listen, I'm gonna put this 2 on you. I'm gonna put this 2 on your back, in your front of your back, and I'm gonna put this L in the chest. So
wear it right.
And it's like, I got you, coach. And it's like, also, I got 4 or 5-star offensive linemen in front of you, and a couple of 5-star wide receivers for you to throw to. Because that's probably all it is. If I'm a running back, if I know I got a highly offensive, highly charismatic coach in Dion, I'm like, oh, you fix the offensive line? You know what? Do I want to go to Nebraska? So I want to go to Colorado State. I want to go to Colorado. Just if you have Shador for at least one more year and whatever he getting in his NIL deal, and then you can kind of continue this legacy. I think he'll be able to really build it back up. Matt Rule, whatever he did, I don't know. Like I say, he's doing some convincing. I mean, maybe Brian Nebraska, LSU might have a shot, but this SEC is about to get thick, so that's going to be tough.
Well, maybe Nebraska will finally make a bowl game. You know, they haven't made one since 2017, so
they try pretty hard though.
Yeah, they were 5-3 at one point this year, and you know, just the wheels on the bus went round and round, and you know, fell off all through the town. So you know, but yeah, he's got the 2 quarterbacks coming in. He's got well, it's not official yet, but all indicators point to McCord going there. So he's got his quarterback for next year. Between all 3 quarterbacks that they played this year, 10 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. You know, so any upgrade, same thing with Colorado's offensive line. Any upgrade at quarterback for Nebraska, and they're a bowl team.
Beneficial, yeah.
You know, so you know, it is what it is. The portal's in effect. Sports Reports' order is in effect. Sports Reports' order is out of here. So, yo, do us a favor. Like, review, share, subscribe. It's all free.
Shout out to John and Molly's Philadelphia 76ers fans. Got some followers last week, so I figured I shoot them with the Philly. I got a bet that Alabama's going to beat Michigan, so he's going to owe me a shot here in about a month. So I'll holler at you, Sal. I got you. You know, get my shot.
Shout out to Draymond Green, just in case you thought he was soft. He out here putting paws on people. You know what I'm saying?
You got to stop doing that, man. Stop getting kicked out of games.
All this flailing around. Stop it.
Stop it.
But, yo, we're going to be back on Thursday, and of course, you know what that means. Thursday means picks. So, NFL, week 15. We are
terrible at it.
You know, week 15.
We have great explanations of our picks, and then it happens on Sunday, and it's like, I wasn't even close.
Hey, all I know is I picked Buffalo to beat Kansas City.
I picked Dallas to beat.
I picked Dallas to beat Philadelphia.
Let me see.
That's what I know.
Oh, I'm an idiot. I picked KC, Philly, Green Bay, Miami.
Well,
I felt like I shouldn't have picked any of those.
And we both picked Atlanta.
I was gonna pick Atlanta no matter what.
But I did get the big pick right though. 27
and
to nothing.
Detroit.
27-0. Bye week over Washington. So I got that one. You know, Jamin Davis out for the season now. How you out for the season during the bye week?
Chicago, baby.
Yeah. Hey, at least you picked Denver.
Yeah, so I was like 3 for 11. I picked Houston. Well, I got Houston,
We gotta see if
Baltimore,
CJ
New
Stroud's playing
Orleans.
this weekend. He got that concussion.
Cincinnati won. Like Indianapolis lost. I picked that
Yep.
one. Atlanta lost. I picked Cleveland.
Oh, Indy lost
1,
bad
2,
too.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't do well.
yeah, but yo, we gonna get it better this week. 2 days away, Thursday. We'll be back. Until then, America,
We love you.
we love you. He is Mr. Logical. I am
You're-
25. And we out.